What up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda, and this is episode 73 of Just Give Me 5. I hope you guys are doing great, continue to be amazing. We got another awesome show lined up for you today. But if you guys caught episode 72, you saw we had none other than my man DJ Sinbad. And let me tell you, we have been trying to get Sinbad on the show for a while, and I'm happy that we were able to make it happen. I remember back in I think it was 2008. This is back when I used to drink. And I got hammered, whatever. We were celebrating a birthday or something. And they were kicking me out of Bar Smith. And Sinbad, he owns it. And so when he found out, he was he made sure I was good, took care of me. Was like, man, that's Miranda, you know what I'm saying? Things happen. It is what it is. And, I always just remember that, you know what I mean? I always remember how cool Sinbad was. He's always been good people, man. Always looks out for everyone in the scene. And, I was just really happy that we were able to have him on the show. The stories he shared, the Brooklyn story, the New York story. I mean, he could go on forever, man. That's another one who I think personally, could write a book. He's just got so much history, especially in the house music scene. So it was an honor having him on the show. And make sure you guys watch episode 72. All right. But today's guest is another Arizona hip-hop legend. He's been doing his thing for many, many years. We're going to talk about his early days. We're also going to talk about the start of the Drunken Immortals. We're going to talk about a craft beer store he had, his new spot, Hotbox Phoenix, and much more. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you Mike Cause.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Mike Cause from the mighty Drunken Immortal crew, and all I'm saying is just give me 5. When did I know? Let's see. Early on, man. I was I was a little kid watching. I got infatuated with Beat Street. That's really what got me going. Got infatuated with Beat Street, Jam on It. Nucleus and shit. Yeah, my mom's was she listened to that kind of shit, around the house and stuff, and then it kind of just, I was probably 8 or 9 or somewhere around there,
Yeah.
Around that age, and I just it just seemed like something I should do. So I would write raps and make little raps and stuff like that.
Right.
Always, and in high school is when I really started to. My brother, luckily wanted to be a DJ. He got infatuated for the same reasons that I did, and was sort of, and my father's from New York, so we would go back there to New York every summer, and kind of see a lot of the culture. We got to see it,
Firsthand.
We're from Arizona, but
Right.
we'd go to New York every summer, and we got to see kind of what was going on. So we were really. So he was a DJ, so we started to put stuff together, in high school, just do little raps and do, stuff like that. That's kind of how I got going.
Nice, man. And then were you guys doing we were hitting the open mics out here? What was your first?
Oh, well, really the way I first started doing it was I had a bunch of friends like DJ Terra, Dega, dudes that were doing Jess and Cameron McWilliams because I'm from Northern Arizona, and these dudes were doing dance music. But these, Terra was into jungle, drum and bass.
Okay.
And I really started rapping with DJ with him. I would rap over drum and bass.
Right.
And that's how I really started. The first gigs I had were at raves and underground parties and stuff where we would come down here and go places and do these and I would rap with drum and bass and jungle, and I just kind of got used to it, and I just really they started. I remember somebody handed me money for rapping, and I was like, you can get paid for this?
Right.
Oh, you can get paid for this? So then I started taking it seriously, then, and I kind of started putting together different ideas and having different versions of a rap group. We did this thing Nomad with this guy David White and this dude, Doug Quick from Blunt Club. Yeah. The mighty Blunt Club. Doug Quick. We had a little because he's from where I'm from, and we had this little group called Nomad, and we played the swap meet and shit.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it was great. It was weird. We go up there on stage and those little white dudes doing some raps at the swap meet. And,
Yeah.
Oh, we had an ASR 10 beats and shit. It was cool. I mean, it was all right. I'd hate to hear it now, but it was all right. But people were just kind of looking at us, and you might get a couple people all right, it was cool. But,
Right.
And that was probably 94, 95 or somewhere around there, you know, we were doing that stuff.
Nice, man.
Drunken Immortals. So yeah, I was living in New Orleans, and I came back, moved here. I was doing a bunch of music and stuff in New Orleans, and I came back, moved back to Phoenix, and I was living in Tempe. I was living in Tempe behind Electric Ballroom over there.
Yeah.
And I lived right behind it, so I'd go to see all these cool shows at Electric Ballroom, and all the local stuff. You know, Soup Market was cracking up, and those guys were just kind of going at that time. And there was a skate shop right there, Sub Society. Sub Society skate shop, and I used to go there all the time because it was right there. And I was working there, and this guy Brad B would come through all the time, and Jonas Foundation was coming through all the time, and Brad was going to the Conservatory of Recording Arts, and so we just had this idea. Oh, I know what it was. He had a 4-track, and he left it there at the skate shop. And I was like, whose 4-track is this? It was in a suitcase. I was like, whose 4-track is this, you know?
Right.
And nobody knew, and then somebody's like, oh, I think that's that dude Brad's, and I was like, I'm gonna borrow it, and I took it home, and I put a bunch of raps on. We had some beats, and my brother had some stuff going, and we put a bunch of raps on there, on the tape he had going, and then I returned it to him, and then he came back, was like, oh, yo, that was you on there? Like, what the fuck, like, you know? And he's like, let's go, let's record some shit, because he was going to the conservatory, so he had like a final project thing he had to do. And he's like, let's record some. So right then, we put together a band. Because I always wanted to do it live. I always had this feeling I wanted to do it live. I wanted to have drummer, bass player, guitar, keys, DJ. That was the idea from the beginning. And there was enough people around. I'm like, oh, you play guitar? This dude, Steve Cox, he's like, yeah. I'm like, come on, come be in the Drunken Immortals. And Brad, we didn't have a name, but Brad played the bass. He didn't rap at the time. He played the bass.
I didn't know he played bass.
Yeah, he played bass. He was the bass player, the first bass player of Drunken Immortals. And then my brother was doing cuts, and I was rapping. And then we had another drummer, this guy Brian, and we put it all together just that day. We were like, let's make some songs. And so in my little apartment in fucking Tempe, we started just making these songs. We started making the songs. Some kid that was there, because we were trying to come up with a name because we were going to do the project, and he was like, you guys should call yourselves the Drunken Immortals, because we were very drunk. We were, we were constantly drinking whiskey, you know, those days, you know, smoking blunts, drinking whiskey, and just playing for hours and rapping. And he's like, Drunken Immortals, and we didn't know where it came from at the time. You know, I found out later that it's an old Chinese legend about the 8 drunken immortals that broke into God's basement and stole his wine, and then they were cursed for their whole lives with immortal drunkenness. So I didn't know that at the time. I was like, that's a great name. Drunken Immortals, I love that name.
Right.
And then so that's what we started calling ourselves. And then it evolved from there. You know, Brad got on the mic. We had a couple different MCs, but once it was really the squad, it was Brad and me rapping, Jonas, who was producing and rapping, Jonas the drummer, I'm producing and drumming. And then we had Jeremy Dana on the bass, Scott White on percussion, and Chris Hill on guitar. And that guy, I mean, we got to play with these guys are like amazing musicians, you know, like that we got to play with. And so from there we put together all the stuff, and we had like a weekly in Tempe where at the Arizona Roadhouse Brewery, once a week we played, and there'd be a ton of people would come to this weekly that we had. So we were like making money as a rap group, you know, like all of a sudden, like week after week, people just kept coming, and we kept seeing money, and we kept having fun and making rap songs. And then Jonas put together a little studio. We started to record, and then Doug Quick moved back from San Diego and started to manage us. And that's when we started really kind of becoming like a real squad, like we were really doing something, like really trying to, like we were, you know, it was a party, you know, we're partying for sure, but Doug, we called him the professional. He'd come through and get us booked on tours and get us money, better money, and do all that. It was like, that's kind of how it all got going. Skateboards and whiskey.
Nice, man. And then you guys used to have a night called Clown Shoes, right?
Yeah, Clown Shoes. Yeah, it was like kind of. It was like. Let me think. Like 2008 or so, I guess. We started to do because that was like 99, 2000 when we first started Drunken, and then we did like a lot of touring and spent a lot of time on the road, and we even made it over to Europe and like had a good time going with that. But then, when we started we're at home a lot, me and Brad put together this thing at the Yucca Tap Room, and it was like a jam session, but we invited people. So it was like, and at the time we were so active in the music scene, and we got a lot of musicians, like a lot of really good musicians and rappers and singers and DJs, and every week it was just this rotating, really kind of amazing thing that we did for 3 years. Like a bunch of groups formed out of it, a bunch of different little groups and cool groups, ones that are still going now. And it was great. Clown Shoes was a super fun kind of legendary jam session we did at Yucca Tap Room. Yeah. For 3 years. Yeah, me and John Sagasta. John Sagasta is the guy that owns Jobot down here, and he owned a couple different coffee shops and restaurants and bars. And at the time, he over there on Fifth Street, the corner of Fifth Street and Roosevelt over there, with that big Mac piece, El Machiavelli from Nitty Gritty Crew, he did this big piece of Mei Ling on there with Revoke. And anyway, inside there we had a beer and wine store. It was craft beer and wine, and we had a deli, like a Brooklyn style deli in there. Nice. And it was awesome. It lasted for a couple years, but then kind of the developers moved in and just like, they're like, look how cool this is, let's ruin it. And then they kind of they kind of bought us out. They didn't really buy us out. They kind of just kicked us out. But it was a really great time to have that little corner piece of Fifth Street and Roosevelt where we had been, because I had the print shop there. I had a Think Graphics right there next door for like 6 years. So just moving, not moving, but just I was doing both. Had to have that little corner there, and Joe bought across the street, which was Hood Ride. In the beginning, Hood Ride was a bike shop down there. Like Fifth Street was a real cultural thing going on here in Phoenix at the time. It was like, there wasn't much going on there, but we all kind of put businesses in the houses. The Lost Leaf, which is still there and been there forever, and was the first one. So everybody was independent, and it was such a cool cultural thing there that was going on before the whole second wave of gentrification came. Right. Yeah. No, it was great though, that little store. I loved it. Over the years, we did a lot of cool shows, with the Drunken Immortals. Like that was my favorite. 10 years of my life, the Drunken Immortals. It was really great. And I remember the one of the most memorable was we played the Fox Theater in Colorado, and we were opening up for the Living Legends. Nice. And it was one of our biggest shows, to that date. And it was such a fun thing, and it was so many people. Like we had, we're used to like tops 500 people, and at that time it was a couple thousand people, we were like, whoa, like, whoa. Yeah, and Brad was all puking, like real nervous. Yeah. We were nervous, but I remember we were sitting there and we were looking at each other, and we were like it just kind of just realizing like, yeah, we're about to we're doing this, we're about to do this, like, we're doing it, man. I just remember that when you first see like a big, huge crowd like that, it was like such a memorable thing. Yeah, man. And then Living Legends too, those guys are, living legends. Hell yeah, man. And then I remember we played, one of the other memorable ones to me though was one of the most memorable ones, and it's one of our first gigs. It was like our first or second gig, and it was at Tona Tierra over here on 7th Street. And it was the Nitty Gritty Graph Show. And it was the first one, and we did all of them. They ended up doing about 8 of them, and it was the legendary Nitty Gritty Crew. They did these graph shows, and people came from all over the world for this thing, and it was the coolest thing. Like, and they let us play, the legendary Pablo King Caper was the one that put us all together. R.I.P. Yeah, it's terrible, but he's the one that put us all together. Like he came and I remember he came and he was like. He came to see us at the skate shop, and he was like, so you're like a white guy that raps? Yeah, I was like, yeah. Pretty much. and so we got to play, but the Nitty Gritty, all the Nitty Gritty shows really, but the first one was such an eye-opener to what's really going on in Phoenix with hip-hop. Like, because I had been, all these years, me and my brother, like, doing it in different ways. Like, Chuck from Trill used to be, got to be funky, and before that it was over there in Tempe, the Tempe Bronx crew and those guys. Yeah, man. And then Ruben, DJ Focus, had the Enter the Arena little shop. It was this little hip hop shop he had over there off Central. That shit was dope, that little shop. So anyway, we were doing it for that long, and So seeing it that way, just seeing everybody together like that, because it wasn't like it is now. You know, it wasn't like you could you're easily, you know, if you're on the bus, you see somebody, you're like, ah, this guy tags, you know, like whatever, this dude's, you know what I mean? But it wasn't, just getting everybody in one place like that was such a beautiful thing, like to see all the different, and everybody was so different, you know, all the graph and all the B-boys and the MCs and the DJs, and it was such a beautiful thing. Like that one really stands out to me. The Nitty Gritty shows, those things were like life-changing, you know, for me for sure, and I think for a lot of people. We got to go to Europe. That was really great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's you know, Doug Quick and his booking prowess. He was able to get us to Europe with AWOL 1 and Tumex and Exit Stereo.
Nice.
And man, that was so great. Like we were in Paris, you know, we got to play in Paris. We went to Sweden and Finland, and I remember we were in Finland. Yeah. I remember we were in Finland though. This really tripped me out. We were in Finland, you know, and the internet wasn't what it is now. I mean, you know, the internet existed. I'm not that old. The internet existed, but it was like, you know, stuff was getting around and people were buying our stuff. But this whole group in the front row knew my lyrics in Finland. Wow. They were rapping it back to me, you know. I don't know, that just really blew my mind. I was like, somebody in Finland, you know, heard the Drunken Immortals and they know the lyrics. Like, so yeah, that was a good one. Wow, that's a hell of a question. Well, I guess if you put it that way, it feels pretty good. You know, I like to, you know, reciprocate that. I feel like I give like a lot of love to people that I feel are special and you know, people that I love extremely. So you know, it feels great. I think that like well, I deserve it. Yeah. Nah, but you know, it's cool. I think it's cool. I appreciate what you're doing. You guys are doing with this thing with all the stories, and I think it's really cool to show that appreciation and see that reciprocation like that. So. Yeah, well, I'd like to shout out. You guys got to check out my new spot over there at the Pemberton on 2nd and Roosevelt. It's a Hotbox PHX. If you see us on Instagram, Hotbox PHX, and it's hop like hops, hop like hip hop box. Right. But like you're hotboxing, but it's a craft beer store, bar, and we sell, you know, just beers and shots. So come through. We're having the Blunt Club over there the end of the month. I don't know if this will come out before that, yeah, May 21st, Blunt Club, 20-year anniversary, so that's gonna be good. Shout out Adam Dumper Foo, and Trill, Hip Hop Shop, you know, Jonas Hurst, and the Insects. You guys gotta check those guys out if you haven't. That was the group that formed after the Drunken Immortals with Brad and Jonas and Dumper Foo, the Insects crew, and you know, DJ Just Chris, Mello, Ilphonics, that whole squad, and then you know, Dega and Jason Ayers, Deep Freak, all the drum and bass heads that are still going right now and still doing it. Cheers.
And there you have it. Man, nothing but love and respect to my man Mike Cause. You know, the Drunken Immortals paved the way for so much of us in the scene, including myself, and it was a real treat to have him on the show. You know, and I wish you nothing but continued success with your new ventures, my brother. And, you know, thanks for hanging out with us, man. Make sure you guys are following him on social media. And shout out to my brother, Jimmy Nelson, on that camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. The numbers are going up, but who's checking, right? All right, y'all. Well, this was another one for the books. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And till next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy, and just give me 5, y'all.
Everything